Good morning. Hi. You are so cute. Yes, big yawn. All I want to do today is just snuggle with this little fluffy loaf, but alas, things to do. Let's go do them. So I want to start my day with a nice warm beverage because it's quite cold outside. It's supposed to be raining and thundering all day. It's currently very sunny, but it was raining and it's supposed to go back to raining very soon. But I am being very gentle with my body right now, so I don't want to have caffeine. So I think I'm just gonna make a little something something here. And I need to make more nut milk because I'm pretty sure I'm out. So let's go make some like trail mix milk, not trail mix. I'm just gonna put like a bunch of different nuts in it, maybe. We'll see. Okay, so I have cashews, almonds, bought some walnuts. Should I use hemp seeds? Yeah, I have these really old macadamia nuts. I don't know if they're still good anymore. That tastes fine. I'm gonna throw in a Brazil nut or two for some selenium and then some sunflower seeds because I'm in the luteal phase of my menstrual cycle, and if we're seed cycling, it's what we do. Now that I'm looking at this is a lot. I can only do like a cup of nuts, so we're gonna see what we can fit in. Okay, I think I mostly want it to be almonds and cashews. Almond down. We'll do just a couple handfuls, sprinkling walnuts. I'm already running out of space. I might not fit everything in. Definitely need to do a couple macadamia nuts though, because these are definitely going to be very bad very soon. Little sprinkle sunflower seeds. I feel like that's going to make the milk not taste good. I may have just messed up. Let's do one Brazil nut, a sprinkle of hemp seeds. All of the seeds have settled to the bottom, but look at, this is going to be my nut milk. Very excited. Also, for anyone curious, this is the almond cow. This is how I make my own nut milk now. I am absolutely obsessed. I have a hair in my mouth. I've decided I'm just gonna add like a little splishy splash of maple syrup. I just gotta stick the blade in here somehow. This goes on. Look at that. All of the nuts milk. Should I try it? This is a really bad idea. Tastes like a blend of nuts as milk. Definitely prefer my cashew coconut milk that I've made before. That's like creamy, delicious, a little bit sweet, you know?
Probably won't combine all of the nuts into one milk again.
So today for my warm morning beverage, I took some of my trail mix milk and warmed it up and added a little bit of Organifi Harmony blend. And then I also added a little bit of their creamer as well, just for funsies. Blended that all up and here we are. When I am consciously trying to be more gentle on my body because of where I'm at in my menstrual cycle, I like to ease off of the caffeine and just really cut back to bare minimum only when I really need the energy boost as opposed to when I just want to enjoy the flavor. And instead, I like to incorporate more of the Organifi Harmony and the Organifi Chocolate Gold. I've told you guys about the Chocolate Gold before. It's amazing. It's like a delicious, calming hot chocolate. Like it has a lot of adaptogens in it that are just more calming, like reishi, anti-inflammatory stuff like turmeric, like just really good, like overall soothing the body. But when I feel like my body or my hormones just needs a little bit more support, then I will go with Organifi's Harmony blend instead, and I love it for hormones. It has some of the best adaptogens to support your hormones, support your energy hormonally, and just kind of like bring everything into harmony. It's basically also a hot chocolate, which you know I just love. Its star ingredient, in my opinion, is maca, which is widely known to be an adaptogen that just supports hormone balance, boosts energy. It's something that I love taking. I'll like add it to my smoothies and stuff if I am in my later luteal phase and I feel my energy just kind of not as good as I would hope. I love adding maca in for that, but also generally overall it's really good to add in regularly if you are dealing with hormone imbalances. And then cacao itself is full of polyphenols. It also has anandamide, which is an endogenous cannabinoid, so like the same kind of molecule you would get from CBD, but like naturally in the cacao plant. So anandamide is called the bliss molecule, so it helps you feel better, which if you're dealing with hormone imbalance symptoms, can be really helpful. It also has chaste tree berry, which is another huge like hormone balancer. It's really good at balancing estrogen and progesterone levels. There's a few caveats to like who should not be consuming chaste tree berry, so like look into it. But for most people, it's going to be really helpful at kind of like balancing your hormone levels throughout your cycle. Also, it's freaking delicious. So if you've been looking for something to add into your routine that can boost overall hormone health and balance, definitely recommend Harmony and Organifi as a whole. You guys know I love their brand and their dedication to the like impeccable sourcing of their ingredients. Like, not only do they make sure their products are like organic and generally well sourced, but like all of their products are certified glyphosate free, which just, to me at least, shows how much they really do care about the quality of their products, because that's something that like a lot of companies don't address and kind of flies under the radar, because not a lot of people are even aware of the potential damaging effects of glyphosate, and glyphosate is literally everywhere. Glyphosate is essentially an herbicide that gets sprayed on essentially like all industrial crops, and even crops that don't get directly sprayed with it are oftentimes exposed to it because they're very close to other fields that are just getting hosed down with glyphosate, or it gets into the soil, into the water system, and ends up in those crops that it's not even directly sprayed on anyway. So to find certified glyphosate free, like entirely glyphosate free products is amazing. So if you do want to check it out, I highly recommend you can go to Organifi.com/fitandnerdy, and if you use the code fitandnerdy, you get yourself 20% off of anything on their website. I love all of their products, but definitely recommend checking out Harmony. It is top notch. So if I didn't make it clear, today's video, we're talking about hormones, specifically fitness and hormones, how to eat and train with your cycle, and showing you a full day of eating and training in sync with my cycle. I get a lot of questions about this from you guys, because like 3 years ago now, more than 3 years ago, I made a video about how to eat and train with your menstrual cycle. So I recommend checking that video out for like a full overview on everything. I will leave a link to that down in the description box below, but I wanted to like just address some more specific questions, really show you kind of how I implement this into my fitness lifestyle. So let's break down the menstrual cycle real quick, because we aren't taught this in schools. That upsets me. But basically, if you have a natural regular menstrual cycle, meaning you get your period every month, you ovulate every month, and you're not on hormonal birth control, because you aren't getting a real period if you're on hormonal birth control, because hormonal birth control shuts down ovulation. And it's not a real period. If you're not ovulating, it's just a withdrawal bleed. So if you have a natural regular menstrual cycle, you have various hormones that fluctuate naturally throughout the month. So we're gonna quickly go over that. So the first phase of your menstrual cycle is the menstrual phase. Day 1 is the day that you start your period. This is where estrogen and progesterone are at their basically all-time low for the month. Then we get into the follicular phase, and this is where estrogen starts to rise relatively rapidly, progesterone rises a little bit gradually, and testosterone also starts to rise. And then we have ovulation, which some people count as like a phase. You can count it as like 3 or 4 days if you want to look at like where the hormones are actually peaking, but it's technically an event. Like ovulation is just, it happens and then it's done. It's when the egg is released from the ovaries. But during this time that this is happening, estrogen and testosterone peak. Progesterone is also still gradually starting to rise. And this is where you feel your best, you feel your strongest. You also appear to be the leanest, because you're going to store the least amount of water. Basically, the higher estrogen gets, the more like energy and oomph you have. And then right after ovulation, your estrogen tanks, progesterone continues to rise, and throughout your luteal phase, which is the second half of your cycle, progesterone continues to rise and estrogen decreases, rises a little bit again, and then tapers off again as you get back to menstruation. Now, if all things are balanced, if you have the right amount of estrogen and progesterone, testosterone, etc., 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 you should never feel bad at any point during your cycle due to your cycle. Obviously, if you like break your leg and feel bad, that has nothing to do with your hormones, but like you shouldn't have cyclical negative symptoms that align with your cycle. This means that PMS, any negative symptoms associated with your cycle, common but not normal. It is a sign that something is off. Something is out of balance. So this could be cramps, fatigue, anxiety and mood issues, bloating, acne, like any negative symptom that you have that lines up with your cycle is a sign that something is wrong. And this is why I just get so upset that we're not taught this in schools, because we're basically conditioned to think that if you have a uterus, you're doomed to feel horrible for half the month, for most of your life. But that is absolutely not the case, and you are not doomed to that. When your hormones are balanced in the first half of your cycle, so the follicular phase, you are going to have more energy. Your body is going to function kind of more like a man's body. You're gonna have higher testosterone. You're gonna be able to like really push yourself in the gym, just go like all out with intensity and everything like that. In the second half of your cycle though, you can't really do that as much because your hormones are at a very different profile. Progesterone's higher, estrogen's lower. And what should happen is this makes you feel more chill, more like kind of grounded, less motivated to go just like do intense workouts, but you should still feel good. You should just not feel like you want to go PR on your squat. So if that does not describe you, if the week or two leading up to your period is anything short of pleasant, then you may want to look into doing things to help your hormone balance. I have a list of books that I highly recommend reading if this does apply to you. First is Beyond the Pill. Even if you're not on hormonal birth control or looking to come off of hormonal birth control, it talks about like how to help balance your hormones when you're not on hormonal birth control. The Period Repair Manual, In the Flow, and The Fifth Vital Sign. If you read those 4 books, and actually Dr. Jolene Brighten, who wrote Beyond the Pill, is about to come out with a new book that I think is also gonna be really, really helpful. Obviously I haven't read it yet because it's not out yet, but I think it's gonna be a really good one. I recommend reading all of those books. Like if you have a uterus, it should be mandatory reading. So those books will go into detail into all of the various things that you can do to help balance your hormones. Today, what I want to go into is how I eat and train around my cycle to balance my hormones, because that is one thing that you can do, is take into account where you are in your cycle and let that kind of guide what your training is going to look like, what your food is going to look like, and kind of how you treat your body and approach life. I think oftentimes, because we aren't given this information and aren't educated about this, we assume that when we feel these natural shifts in our energy, in our strength, etc., that something's wrong if our energy is decreasing or our strength is decreasing. And so we oftentimes try to force ourselves to be as strong as we are in the follicular phase of our cycle. And that's where things can kind of go haywire, is because you start working against your body. You're naturally not going to have as much like kind of energy in your late luteal phase. You're naturally not going to be as strong in your late luteal phase, and that's okay. That is completely normal. But when we try to treat our bodies like we're in our follicular phase when we're actually in our luteal phase, that can cause imbalances because you're basically working against what your body wants and needs to do to stay in balance. And so I think cycle syncing can be really powerful to not only restore hormone balance because you're working with your body instead of against your body, but also to empower you to understand your body and to work in partnership with your body as you go through life, achieve goals, etc. Like it can be very disempowering to feel like you're doing everything that you think you should be doing and not getting the results that you want because you aren't aware that your body is working against you for half the month. But as soon as you can understand how to work with your body to accomplish goals, things flow a lot easier. So with that said, I just finished my Harmony, so I'm gonna go make some breakfast and then we can chat about nutrition and syncing nutrition with your cycle. And breakfast is served. We got 3 eggs, some kale, sweet potato, some toasted walnuts and sunflower seeds, and some feta cheese. I wanted to put half an avocado on here, but none of my avocados were ripe, so no avocado for me today. This looks frickin' delicious, and I'm very excited to eat it. I am currently in the luteal phase of my cycle. I'm like maybe a week away from starting my period. I'm not sure off the top of my head. So I'm gonna specifically walk you through all of the things that are kind of just like in the back of my head as I go through this phase of my cycle month to month. So in the second half of your cycle, your metabolism actually speeds up. You burn more calories. And studies show that it can speed up anywhere from, this is very approximate, like 4% to like 18%, somewhere in that range. But that means if you're burning like 2,000 calories in the first half of your cycle, you could be burning about 350 more calories in the second half of your cycle. People wonder why they get these cravings before their period. They wonder why they want to just eat everything in sight. It's because you're literally just burning up hundreds more calories. So if you try to eat the same in the second half of your cycle, yeah, you're gonna be hungry. But in the second half of your cycle, you also become more insulin resistant. So processed refined carbs are going to hit your body harder in a more negative way. So what all this means is that in the second half of your cycle, you should make sure that you're eating enough to match your increase in metabolic rate, especially because in the second half of your cycle, your body also can't handle stress as well, and being in a calorie deficit is more of a stressor on the body. So if you're dealing with hormone imbalance symptoms, you may benefit a lot from like eating an amount that matches your hunger to make sure that you're not in a calorie deficit and you're getting all of the nutrients that your body needs. You're also going to benefit more from eating slightly lower carb and leaning more on complex carbs to help balance your blood sugar. When I say slightly lower carb, I don't mean like low carb. Like if that works for you, great, but you totally don't have to eat like low carb, whatever the heck that means. But just being more like cognizant and aware of your carb intake and opting for more complex carbs like sweet potato instead of maybe like white rice. And some women are going to need more carbs than others in order to keep their hormones happy and balanced. So like me personally, I can thrive on a lower-ish carb diet, not like 30 grams of carbs, but if I eat like 100 grams of carbs a day, I'm chilling. But for some people, that's not going to be sustainable. Like you're going to have to actively try to eat more carbs than that. So one big tip is starting your day with a large meal full of protein, fat, and complex carbs. A very balanced meal that's going to give you enough calories to fuel your day and is going to minimize a blood sugar spike by having enough protein and fat. Also, the leafy greens like kale support magnesium and calcium levels, which is really important in the second half of your cycle. And it also helps with fiber intake, which is really important to flush out extra estrogen. Like that is how your body metabolizes estrogen and gets rid of it, is through your poop. So if you're not pooping regularly, you're going to have artificially elevated estrogen levels, which is not optimal for hormone balance. And then also foods rich in B vitamins encourage optimal progesterone production and help stave off craving. And so for me, in my late luteal phase, I really prioritize listening to my body, especially when it comes to hunger and satiety. I make sure to eat until I'm full. And then I also listen to my cravings beyond that. I found that like right before my period, I tend to crave more salmon, more avocado, and more dark chocolate. And then I do tend to actively consume more red meat leading up to my period just because iron, because you lose a lot of iron when you start your period. And so eating a little bit leading up to that can just help with iron levels.
2 hours later.
Okay, it has been hours since we chatted. I have been working hard, but I also ended up going for like a 30-minute walk and I sprinted around with Cleo. So I got some activity in. I want to do a little bit more. I think I'm gonna do some yoga. Oh, I also got a little bit hungry, so snacking on lesser evil paleo puffs. And I had a kombucha. But when it comes to exercise in your luteal phase, because your estrogen is so much lower, you actually have less strength and less resiliency towards stress. And so training in a very intense way can actually be disadvantageous. It can actually end up leading to gaining more fat and losing more muscle. So again, this is why if you're like really trying to push yourself hard throughout your whole cycle and you're finding it's not working, it's because you're actually working against your body. So essentially the closer you get to starting your period, the more your estrogen and progesterone start tapering off. So your hormone levels are just getting lower and lower. The lower they get, the more you want to scale back on the workout intensity. So for me, what this looks like right now, since I don't have any like specific goals that I'm working towards and I'm really kind of training intuitively anyway, it means I'm lifting less frequently in the second half of my cycle, particularly like the week before my period. If I'm feeling great, I have energy, I feel strong, I'll go lift, but it's less of a priority. I still prioritize movement, but I could, like the last couple days I've been a little bit more stressed than normal. So I can tell there's just more of like a load on my body. Like my body is dealing with stressors from other places. So I don't want to also add intense exercise stress. So today I decided that I wanted to do yoga, do something much lighter that's going to be much more restorative. But like 2 days ago, I had a ton of energy. I was feeling great. Like I was very motivated to go lift. So I went and did a pretty intense, like full body workout. Not like super intense, but like as intense as I felt like my body was going to be able to handle. And that felt really good. So basically for me, I very much listen to my body and go with how strong I feel. When I do have more specific goals that require more regimented training, like doing the same workouts week to week, if I'm trying to like lose fat, reverse diet, etc., then I will still stick with those same workouts. I'll just modulate the intensity based on how strong I feel. So I've given this example a couple times before, but it's relevant here. When I was, I think, reverse dieting and I was in a strength phase of training, so I was lifting like as heavy as I could, I was deadlifting every week and I had gotten my deadlift up to like 225-ish, but I had hit that PR in the first half of my cycle. 2 weeks later, I went to go pick up that weight wouldn't budge. My body was like, nah, that's not happening today. Because I was like a couple days away from my period, and so I just was not as strong. And so even though I was reverse dieting, I had a very specific goal, I still listened to my body and I cut back the weight to where I felt like it wasn't fatiguing. Like when you're exercising, it should feel good. It shouldn't feel draining. It should feel like it's giving you energy, not taking it away. And that should be true throughout your whole cycle. So like, I know for me, yoga right now is going to make me feel good. It's going to get my blood flowing. It's going to give me energy. If I were to go try to lift like super heavy right now, it would probably be draining. Like as I'm lifting, I would probably be like, oh my God, like this doesn't feel that good. You don't want to feel that this doesn't feel good feeling. So how you should train really depends on your goals and your hormones. For people who have hormones that are very out of balance, if you're getting severe debilitating PMS every month, and if fixing your hormones is your main focus, which normally I would recommend that be your main focus if it's debilitating, then I really would focus more on phasing your training within your cycle. Like don't focus as much on fat loss, focus on getting your hormones in balance and getting your body to a happy, healthy place. And with your training, you can just phase your training within your cycle. So like feel free to go hard, go all out in the first half of your cycle, but then when you get into the second half, like reel it back in, really listen to your body and see what is going to feel good for your body. I feel stretched, I feel restored, I also feel hungry. It's now time to make some luteal phase friendly dinner. Let's go. Alrighty, this is what I pulled out of my fridge. We're gonna see what we can make with this. I have the Force of Nature, absolutely love this brand by the way, grass-fed beef ancestral blend. So this one has ground beef, but also beef liver and beef heart. So it has organ meats, which means it's particularly nutrient dense. One of the big reasons why I love Force of Nature. Like this is just like leftover from last week. So I'm gonna roast this with some carrots and some Brussels sprouts. And this is also leftover, so I figured I should use that. And then I think I'm gonna do some fresh romaine, fresh red onion, fresh radishes. All right, so here's what we ended up with. I just cooked up the ground beef. I roasted up the carrots, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and delicata squash. And then I have a big bed of romaine lettuce with some radish, red onion, feta cheese. And I topped it all with that dressing from Primal Kitchen and some black sesame seeds. If you follow seed cycling, which is something that you can do to support hormone balance, you want to actively consume, there's I think like 1 or 2 tablespoons, but like just add more sesame seeds and sunflower seeds into your diet in your luteal phase. And I believe it's pumpkin and flax seeds in your follicular phase. So that's why I added the sunflower seeds to my trail mix milk and why I added the black sesame seeds to my dinner. So first of all, the dinner was better than I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be good, for the record. It was just even better than that. Now I'm just sipping on some tea. There's an elderberry tea and a white tea in here. And then for dessert, I had just a few hunks, chocolate covered cashews. Like I said earlier, before and during my period, I tend to crave dark chocolate, so that's why I picked these. So that's like 2 big factors to consider in like syncing your life with your menstrual cycle. One is sleep. Generally, we need more sleep the closer we get to our period. So I sleep an average of like 8.5 hours in my luteal phase, so like the second half of my cycle, and about 8 hours in my follicular phase if I give myself like as much time as I need to sleep. So I just make sure to like really prioritize that during my luteal phase. And then the last thing is stress. Our bodies are a little bit less resilient to stress in the latter half of your cycle. So what I personally like to do is minimize stimulants, so I have less caffeine in the second half of my cycle, and I just prioritize more like restorative, calming time. I took a bath the other night. Not a big bath person. Just felt like I needed a bath, you know? I really prioritize like giving myself time to wind down before bed to not only get better quality sleep, but also to just kind of like help be in a more restorative state. But yeah, that is why and how I approach my fitness and nutrition and lifestyle differently in the luteal phase of my menstrual cycle. If you guys want to see me do this video again in the different phases of my cycle, let me know. I can do a video for menstruation, a video for follicular phase, and a video for ovulation, and talk about just like how I shift things accordingly. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, things to add down in the comments below. Do make sure you check out Organifi, check out Harmony if you're looking for an easy thing to add to your routine that can really kind of just help boost your hormone balance. If you want to check out more videos from me all about health and fitness, you can check them out over here. To see future videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you get notified when I post a video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!